So I'm going to talk a little bit about the FDLP forecast study today, discovering the path to achieve our shared vision. From 1995 through 2 years ago, I actually was involved in 3 legislative efforts to bring the depository library program and GPO into the digital age. None of them succeeded. When I was offered this position, I took it realizing that for many libraries, the FDLP is at a real tipping point. There's so many libraries, including regional libraries, that want to weed out parts of their collection or all of their collections and become electronic only. And so how are we going to envision this future? From my background, and by the way, I was a member, I'm privileged to be a member of Danj. I worked very closely with the ALA, Government Documents Roundtable. But I do believe that the depository library program isn't all about GPO because it's people like yourselves who are the heart of the program for us. And so I developed a model for a forecast study that would be very collaborative because you are our stakeholders, you are our customers, you are our partners, and we need to hear what you see as areas that we need to improve, what trends in libraries that may be moving more digital, pressure points even within your own institution. The notion that from this dialogue and the study and the data that we are now analyzing, we might be able to come together towards somewhat a close consensus on what that future should be, leading us to changes in Title 44, which was last amended to any degree in 1962 with the Depository Library Act that created the structure of regional libraries. So these are the principles of government information, and I'd like you to just read them over to yourself. By law and by tradition, they actually represent the core ideology of the FDLP. And they were developed at the request of the House Ledge Branch Subcommittee and published in a 1996 study, one that has the longest title perhaps in the federal government, Study to Identify Measures Necessary for a Successful Transition to a More Electronic FDLP as Required by Legislative Branch Appropriations Act, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I had the great fortune to be involved in the development of these 5 principles, which are really more related to digital content. And the third one in particular I bring to your attention. And this again is in the digital age when we are not distributing tangible materials to you. We in the government are obliged to guarantee the authenticity and integrity of those digital files so that you and your faculty and your students and the public, any of your users, know that that digital government publication is trustworthy, that it is exactly what it purports to be. In addition, in the digital age, the government has an obligation to preserve its information. As we look together in this wonderful study to determine where we move in the future, it's very important to me and to everyone at GPO, and I'm sure to you, that we don't lose any of the vision and mission of the FDLP. So this is our vision. We will provide government information when and where it is needed in order to create an informed citizenry and an improved quality of life. The mission of the FDLP, providing for no fee, ready, permanent access to federal government information now and for future generations. And this vision and the mission have to be core of anything as we move forward into a much more digital program, which it is today. In fact, I just received statistics for FY12, and we distributed 6,500 tangible titles. That's it. Down significantly from the prior year by about 4,000. With the pending fiscal cliff, with lowered agency budgets, we are going to see a further decline in print distribution and therefore the reliance more and more on electronic. The values of the FDLP are equally important as we determine what is the future for the program. And these really follow the vision and the mission. It's all about access, and the important words there, no fee, public access. Collections now, both tangible and digital, of official government information. Collaboration and communication, among my 4 goals when I accepted this job, were transparency, improved collaboration, and improved communication with the library community. Again, you are our partners, you are our stakeholders. We need to listen to you. We need to know what your pressure points are as we move forward. Expertise and professionalism, that's all about you, your knowledge, your expert help to members of the public, your faculty, your students, depending what type of library you're from. Service, a high level of service, promoting user-centric services. We at GPO, it is part of my, one of my goals that we improve our electronic services to you. We recently launched DSIMS. A couple weeks ago, we launched the beta FDLP.gov that will replace the desktop. We want to hear if you like these tools, and we want your comments on them so that we can constantly improve them. And stewardship, of course, we all need to be good stewards of the resources entrusted to us by the American people. And for you, those are your tangible collections, your knowledge and your expertise, your digital collections, electronic collections, and certainly that applies to us in terms of our responsibilities for getting official digitally authenticated content made available at no cost through the Federal Digital System, or FDSys. So we began this wonderful adventure on the FDLP forecast study at the October 2011 Depository Library Council meeting, and I'm so glad, Linda, that you mentioned Laura and the great honor that Newark Public has received. It was just such a privilege to be able to recognize Newark Public, which, as you know, has been challenged by budget cuts and furloughs, and how Laura was able to, in partnering also with Rutgers Law and Sue Lyons, make sure that nothing was lost in terms of an excellent level of public service. So anyway, I want to briefly, for those of you, and I know many of you were not able to attend our conference, the FDLP forecast study began in October 2011, and we presented our idea to the community that we wanted you within your state to come together and give us a state forecast and then develop a state action plan that Linda mentioned earlier. Librarians got up during that conference and, to my great distress, said, oh, we want our libraries to do a questionnaire too. So all of a sudden what became what was a very manageable research study for us became manageable, but was going to take so much more time. And I'm just delighted with the response. I'll give you the numbers in a few minutes. But if you start up on phase 1, which is complete, and that's the FDLP individual library forecast, your state forecast, and state action plans, we provided at our October Depository Library Council meeting and FDLP conference preliminary analysis and results. We're now at the point in the middle blue intermediate analysis. Going over to the middle left, you'll see in the pink white papers and FDLP community site discussions. The first white paper is going to be on the issue that I believe is critically important and our top priority, and that is the future of the program, the governance. Looking at Title 44, is it flexible enough for the future? Our final analysis will be completed this summer. And down below, you see that there are 2 strategic plans. When I came to GPO, LSCM did not have, per se, a strategic plan. And my academic background really made me very devoted to having a plan and accountability and deadlines. Concurrent with that, the FDLP, Depository Library Council, has never worked with us our fall, to develop an FDLP strategic plan. But again, that's moving to the future, and we really need one now. If you go back up from both the LSCM and FDLP strategic plan, you'll notice it goes back to our preliminary analysis. We are listening to what libraries and states told us in the forecast, and we're already putting, while the data has not been finalized, its analysis hasn't been, we're already pulling ideas to inform both the FDLP and LSCM strategic plan. And out of the FDLP strategic plan comes our national plan for the future. So there are two questions in particular from the state forecast that were most important to me, again, in looking at the future of the program. And they were also in the individual library. And the first one, what would an ideal FDLP look like that met all your current and anticipated needs? And question 20, is there anything else you would like to tell us? And even though the ideal program was so open-ended and some people wrote several pages, they still had more to tell us about, is there anything more? So we really received a wealth of information. The 5 most frequent issues or themes, if you will, that rose to the top as we did our analysis of the quantitative data and also looked at the qualitative data. We themed them. And these are the 5 that rose to the top. Program governance, preservation, digitization, access, and harvesting, which means harvesting web content from agency websites, training and education, cataloging and bibliographic control, item selection, and distribution. So among these 5, some of them are more policy related, for example, program governance. Preservation, digitization, access, and harvesting also has policy components. For example, when agencies put content up on their website, with the exception only of our federal digital system and one other federal entity, there's no digital certification or authentication, which is so important. Training and education, you want more, you want more, you want more, you want face-to-face, you want virtual training. And part of that also, a subcomponent of training and education is marketing and promotion. Cataloging and bibliographic control. We're working hard with libraries on the pre-76 cataloging records, I'm trying to figure out how we can collaborate more closely with all of you. Item selection and distribution, you want us to make it much more easy for you to determine both and to get items that you want. And one message that seemed to come loud and clear is that depository libraries are really looking now, and it could be financial, it could be a new service orientation, but they really want more local content rather than that of a national focus. They'd like to be able to select items by geography, for example, or by subject or theme, which, as you know, is not the way we select items according to SUDOC number. Program governance, again, is so important to me at the policy level. And the next 2 slides are ones that I call in your words. These are what the library community told us in their qualitative responses. And briefly, I mentioned earlier how happy we were and surprised we were with the wonderful participation of the depository library community. Of the 1,200 approximately FDLs, we have received individual library forecasts from 802 of you. That was amazing to us, and those were certified and signed by both the director or dean of the library and the documents coordinator. For the state forecasts, we have received 46, and that covers 42 states and District of Columbia, American Samoa, Guam, and the Virgin Islands. And we have received 34 focused action plans covering 40 states and territories. So we have a lot of wonderful data to sift through, as you might imagine. So let's go back to program governance. We started after the October conference and taking, our staff are working hard on developing a coding book so that we can begin to draw data from your qualitative responses. And for the coding book, for example, under Program Governance, Future of the Depository Library Program, we're looking for words such as Title 44. We're looking for words like Ask Congress To. We're looking for words that talk about a digital FDLP, and also flexibility, which came up again and again. Libraries want flexibility. They want flexibility on leading. They want flexibility on acquiring content. So that's why you see one of the subgroups, more flexibility. In your words, different needs and pressures, one size doesn't fit all. And in fact, one size drives libraries out of the program. Combining collections, regional areas that cooperate to develop 100%. And this actually came from the group in Rhode Island. Rhode Island does not have a regional depository library. They're served by the State Library of Connecticut. But the small number of FDLs in Rhode Island ensure that they get 100% of the tangible collection. The last one is probably the most important, on flexibility, consortial options. Libraries want flexibility to work within states and across state borders for service, preservation, bibliographic control, and more. In terms of withdrawal and disposal, again, the key words were like withdrawing, weeding, the 5-year rule, and here again, in your words, I think one of the key ones is the second bullet, minimize the physical footprint. I would take a guess that there may be 5 or less people here representing your libraries where you haven't had to take collections, move them off-site. In some libraries that I've visited, there is no longer a reference collection per se. We're making space in public libraries for civic engagement and civic dialogue. We're making space in academic institutions for the students to come together and work. And so in many libraries, we're seeing that the documents collection, or most of it, is being shipped to off-site storage. For regionals and for many selectives, they seem to want to reduce their tangible collection to a small number of core publications. You want to streamline, simplify selection. I've mentioned that already. Flexible protocols for substituting of digital surrogates. And this is a very complex question. It involves policy, it involves technology, and it also goes back to what current law in section, particularly for regionals, section 1912 of U.S. Title 44. And it gets into the question of substituting an official print publication for a digital surrogate that is also official and trustworthy and has been digitally authenticated. So congratulations, New Jersey, and this is because you have such a wonderfully strong Documents Association in New Jersey. So some of the pressures that I talked about, libraries wanting to weave their entire collections, that may or may not be true of any of you, but you all have this wonderful passion for government information, and I'm so fortunate that I was able to go to Rutgers and learn about that passion as a very young librarian. So 19 of your libraries, 73% completed the individual library forecast. The average for across the nation for the states was 50%, so congratulations. 17 of you worked with Laura on the state forecast. State-focused action plan that Linda mentioned. You have 4 initiatives, 12 action items, and congratulations, they are all doable, but we want to help you do them. And participation in discussions to develop them both face-to-face and virtual. So you did a great job. You should congratulate yourself. Absolutely. Danj and Laura in particular, and I know Sue, a wonderful member of the Depository Library Council. So you had the voice of all types of libraries into your forecast and action plan, and that's exactly what we were hoping for. Now, I am delighted when Linda pulled this up. I just went through your state-focused action plan, and actually you can forget this slide because we've got it actually so much more comprehensive here. Promotion and marketing, now that's an area where we want to help you. In fact, we have a new promotional plan up on our desktop. We've recently revamped our FDCIS and FDLP brochures. They have a new look and feel. We'll be sending them out to libraries. They're also available on the desktop. In other words, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. We want to help you and also provide virtual training sessions that will help you do what you need to do with a minimum of work, right? Create online sources to help with common issues, increase collaboration and training opportunities. Absolutely, that appeared, I think, again and again. I think marketing, promotion, training were probably in almost every state's focused action plan. I really liked the last one on my screen, which is also Initiative 4. I don't think I saw this in any other state-focused action plan, so that's wonderful. Provide a description of legacy collection strengths, and that gets back to the importance of networking and collaborating amongst ourselves. So I think that's a great initiative, and I have 100% confidence that you're going to implement all of your initiatives. But this is a unique one. I really like it. Again, maybe downsizing one library's collection because you can build upon or collaborate better with another library. One of the questions that was both in the individual library questionnaire as well as in the state forecast, because I'm looking for libraries who want to partner with GPO and digitize portions of that tangible collection. And you have a wonderful model here in New Jersey. John Jorgensen, as I don't know what his title was at Rutgers Law in Camden, took it upon himself, took the initiative and the leadership to digitize their collection of hearings. And I know that the American Association of Law Libraries gave him a Public Access to Government Information Award for doing that. Actually, the award was given in '96, so he was way ahead of the times in digitizing that collection. But among all of the individual libraries, so that 802, I was most interested and pleased to see in the blue, yes, we have plans and we want to help you. We will be doing webinars to help go through the procedures and best practices for the digitization of legacy collections. Moving towards our strategic plans and the FDLP of the future, and I want to thank publicly one of my staff, Cindy Atkin, for coming up with this great sort of collage that is all about the present to the future. As we go through the library results and the state results of the forecasts, and also we look at what you plan to do, and we know we must support your efforts. We sort of divided things into what is in process, and for the in process I learned principally that even though we think we're communicating well with the library community, you're busy people. Most of you probably wear 5 and 6 hats in your library. And we may put out a listserv message and think everybody's read it and memorized it, and we found that's not so. We have a new e-newsletter, the FDLP Connection. I hope all of you are subscribed to it. But what we learned here is that a lot of the things that we've done and already done, you just don't know about. So that's what we were saying in process, we're doing it. The other group that we put aside are the doable. And the doable are your suggestions that are very easy to implement. They don't require a large new budget line. They don't require our specialized staff that we may not currently have in library services and content management. The possible gets a little tricky, and these are your wonderful ideas, but for us to implement them for you, it may rely on a budget request. And we've already actually prepared our FY14 budget. So the possible, and they're great ideas, they're absolutely fabulous ideas, but they're going to be dependent on our getting X dollars to implement them and possibly hiring staff with the talents that we need to do that. So that's possible. And the very last one requires legal change. And the legal change could be to Title 44. They could be to our regulations for depository libraries, weeding, substitution, etc. And again, that is the one I'm the policy, responsible for the policy of the program and cataloging and indexing, and I am looking for every flexibility that I can under current law and regulations to help relieve depository libraries on some of these pressure points, but at the same time, I'm committed to ensuring that we will come together, agree on some needed changes to the 1962 Depository Library Act and move forward together. So with that said, questions? Any questions? Well, I'm not going to stand between you and census. I just want to say, please, I want to say that training is one of my initiatives. We licensed a tool called iCohere last December, and since January of 2012, we have done 60 iCohere sessions. I'm not sure if you had one related to the questionnaires. FDSys training has been our #1 priority this year. More than 1,600 librarians have taken at least one of our FDSys training sessions. I hope you all monitor the desktop. Please, when we put out an FDLP listserv announcement, read it, because that's, for example, where we talk about our training. Where I see training coming in the next year, we are going to be advertising shortly for a curriculum manager, somebody who has expertise in doing mostly the virtual type training. That's what we need, especially in these times of low budgets and difficulties in traveling. Staff are already working on a virtual session on RDA, the new cataloging system and tool, and we want to do iCohere sessions on promotion and marketing, the kind of things that you have in your state action plan. I also envision that in our training session coming up in the next year, there will be more. They will be on different topics, and I'm also looking for volunteers such as all of you sitting in this room, because I want to bring in the strengths that the community has, your knowledge and expertise. Census has kindly agreed to do 3 training sessions with us in the next calendar year, and the first 2 are going to be on the American Fact Finder. And I hope you will all sign up. The other last point I wanted to make, when we licensed iCohere, it was very important to me to make it available through the license for any state group. And I don't know if you here at Danj have your own GoToMeeting. I don't know if you do virtual conferences. You don't have the tool. Well then, you may use iCohere for Danj virtual meetings. And in fact, Cindy Etkin is our co-tar on iCohere. And I'm thinking maybe she'll do an iCohere training session on how to use iCohere. I was just out in Michigan, and it's the same situation. They don't have a GoToMeeting or any other tool. And this is exactly the kind of assistance we want to give to our depository libraries. So thank you very much, and on to the census.